them, and I appreciate that.
Teleological, irreducible complexity within the cell, within the organism, within the environment, and then
What do you believe
transcendental,
that's within a cell is?
and then transcendental. The very existence of anything, let alone a fly, just the existence of anything in and of itself. These things all being dependent entities or dependent beings requires they depend on a independent being, a thing which exists on its own being, which none of these things are. They're all physical. Physical depends on physical laws. So you can either make the physical laws your God or an amalgam thereof, or something that created those physical laws. But even the greatest scientists and philosophers have to admit there's something that instantiates existence.
Okay. The first thing you said was irreducibly complex portions of a cell. What is irreducibly complex within a cell?
Yeah, that's my favorite quote in the Quran so far. He says, line up all man and jinn, you won't be able to create a fly. I was like, all right, let's look into flies. Oh, flies only live 24 hours. That's kind of interesting. So you can't even make something come to life for 4 hours.
I think the butterfly has a short
Yeah,
shelf.
who ball, Lord of Flies.
Oh, you are there, Noah. Did you just miss my question? The first thing you said was something about irreducible complexity of cells or portions of cells. What in a cell is irreducibly complex?
You know, both of you guys talked over Rakia, right?
What?
Or you didn't
He
hear him?
doesn't.
Hear Rakia?
I
No.
did hear him.
To be fair, he was a little low, but I did hear him.
It's all good. I enjoy hearing the arrogance come out in him. Like I don't even understand when you look at all the vehicles, the stuff that you know are man-made because you see man make them, right, and intelligently design them and all that. Do you deny that those are made by man?
Why would I deny that a vehicle is made by man? That doesn't make any
Okay.
sense at all. What?
Gotta know
Why?
to say no.
What about a vehicle and an organism are analogous to you? The fact that they
Well,
both move.
they both exist and they both do have functions and gears, and I can show you like to the smallest degree bacteria having gears, and they're not man-made. You would probably agree to that. So then you have to go to something
What?
else, right? What is your something else that makes those gears?
By gears, do you mean... I'm confused. I know that cells have interlocking mechanisms for multicellular organisms. I don't know what you mean by gears of a bacteria.
Okay, well, you know what gears are, right?
Yeah.
So gears in a transmission of a car, you would agree those are man-made?
Yeah.
Okay, gears of anything else in any living organism, no matter what type of gear it is or whatever, what made that?
Hold on. You have to be specific, right? So,
I
like, are
just
you talking
posted
about
it,
gears?
Chief.
What am I
posted
looking
it.
at?
I think he's talking about something under a microscope.
Oh, this isn't even a
maybe.
cell. This is part of a fly.
I'm not even talking about that. I don't have anything in specific. I said a gear. That's
You said the
specific.
gears of a bacteria, which is what I'm pressing
I
you
said
on.
a gear of anything else, not man-made.
The gear of anything else, not... No, you said that bacteria had gears, which is what I'm questioning you on.
I said that before, and then I restated it, and now you're just avoiding. I'm just wanting a simple answer. Why
I'm
are
not
you
avoiding. I'm making sure I know what the fuck you're saying, because you and other guy
But-
don't like actually talk too good.
the gear of anything that's not man-made, as you put me down, asshole?
Gears.
I
gears
would
can come
take a
naturally.
gear to be, something made of metal with the interlocking teeth. Am I wrong?
Why does it have to be made of metal to be a gear? That's ridiculous.
Any gear I've ever seen or dealt with
You never seen
Yeah.
plastic
is
gear?
made of metal.
I see
Yep.
I see a beautiful
guess
product of
plastic as well.
evolution in their back wings, or I think this is their legs. Yeah, I know it's part of their spring mechanism for quick escape. I'm not really seeing like a need for a creator for this one.
Yeah, it's a very strange
do you
logical
mean?
leap to say that you have My son Timmy made a volcano, like a paper mache volcano for his science fair. Therefore, real volcanoes had to have a designer.
That's not what I said. I asked
That's
him a
kind
very.
of the equivalent.
Y'all don't even know what the question is.
No,
What's
I
my
know
question?
exactly. Sam Montreal already put it out there for you.
No, what's my question?
After you guys answer Rocky's question, let me go after. Go ahead.
What's my
So
question again?
your question's gonna be something along the lines of,
Just
"Oh,
let
well,
him
we
ask
see
it,
gear."
bro.
He
Just let him
asked what
ask
his
his
question
question, and
was. Is
I'm
asking
going.
what
And
your
after it
question
gets
was your
answered,
question?
I've
let
already
Rocky
He
answer his
already asked the
question,
question.
and then after he
Yeah.
answers it, I'm gonna go next.
Okay.
What's my question again that I've already asked?
Your question is something along the lines of, maybe not the exact wording, but hey, like there's gears that exist in other organisms like this fly. I don't even think it's a fly, is it? Or is it like a grasshopper? One of those creatures that hops around, right?
Makes
Like
no difference.
if these things exist here, then surely they have a creator, correct? Or something like along those silly lines.
Wasn't my question, and you say
Okay.
silly because you want to demean what I said. You're just an asshole, man.
You just
I'm
ask your
truthful.
question. Ask your question so they can answer it, and I can go. I'm waiting.
Okay.
I'm waiting to go here throughout all this meta stuff.
Everything that's not man-made, like gears, and everything else that's not man-made, whether it be a bacteria, a butterfly, or whatever you have gears in that's not man-made, what made it?
He left anyways.
Yeah. See you
It's a good
later.
question.
It would be Nate.
Is anybody gonna answer it? So is anybody
Yeah, I was
gonna
about
answer it
to.
so I can go? Go
Natural
ahead.
processes. The
There you
development of
go.
the
There's your
organism
answer. Okay,
through
here's my.
evolution.
All right, great. It's a good answer. Here's the thing, though. The contrary to there not being a creator is ridiculous. That would mean that all this stuff came out of nothing, from nothing. You're in the Lawrence.
Yes.
No, do you know Lawrence Krauss? Like, have you read something from nothing?
Yeah,
Because
he
it
doesn't
sounds like
think
you're
nothing means nothing.
misunderstanding it.
He thinks nothing means something. I know he doesn't know what nothing means. He thinks there's something in nothing. But you're in some wilder than Lawrence Krauss fantasy where you
Nope.
mean actually nothing. Because if there's not a creator, where'd all the stuff come from?
Wait, so something cannot come from nothing, is what you're saying?
He's basically asking if you worship
Yeah,
Big Bang.
I would definitely say you can't get something from nothing. Yes, 100%.
Okay, then we know the creator story within Christianity is false because it claims to have made something out of
No.
nothing.
I don't care. I'm not a Christian. I don't care, bro. I'm not a Christian.
But well, you don't care to. If you don't care, then you can just agree with it because by your logic, that would be the case.
I'm not a Christian. Yeah, whatever you want.
No, but
I'm just not a
say
Christian,
I
bro. Like
agree with
that's
you.
not.
The Christian worldview isn't true because you can't make something from
I've
nothing.
already debunked it. I've debunked it myself 5 different ways, bro. Like I'm not worried about that.
But yeah,
Yeah, I think
it was really funny to have people say humans make gears and we see gears in nature, therefore both have to have had a creator. It's a big leap in logic.
Stay
That's
focused,
not
Rich. Something from nothing.
That's literally what we were talking about
Yeah,
before.
Rocky,
But
all fired up.
question and still hadn't been answered. I know that gears in a car that was made by a man was designed and created by a man. The other gears that are man made, I asked the question, what made them?
Jeremy,
Your
you
turn.
remember when I answered that, right? Already?
I didn't hear it. I heard
Jeremy said
Jeremy.
good answer.
I know, but I didn't hear the answer. I just tried to
Okay.
tell you.
Natural processes occurring through organisms and evolution.
Okay, what made the processes? What gave
Why
you the
does that have
natural?
to be? Wait, why would a process have to be made? When
The question.
when water goes onto the shore, right?
Yep.
And it is
Yep.
abrasive to the rocks, making them
Yep.
smooth. The process of those rocks getting smooth doesn't need a creator.
What made the water?
Elements exist. and water is a compound of hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen and oxygen exist demonstrably.
What made that, and you be able to decipher that?
What made oxygen?
Yeah,
I don't know that it has a creator.
good answer. You don't know. Yeah, I agree. I don't either.
So
Seems
basically, you
logical.
worship the periodic table, is what he's saying.
I don't
Yeah,
worship
I mean,
nothing.
that was easy. Yeah, obviously
I'm
you
just
don't
telling
worship.
you what we
Oh my
know in
god, let me just tell
reality.
you
When
just real quick,
oxygen, well,
real quick while we're on the
the plants
periodic
made
table.
the ocean made
Oh god.
oxygen. There you go.
Okay, great. Let me
We
just
didn't.
tell you this while we're on the periodic table. There was a kid who did his high school. You know how you get to say a little quote under your picture? One of the kids did one of the kids just started ripping off like the names of elements. And when you take the periodic table and you put them all in a row, it says fuck bitches get money when you it's hilarious. Good talk, guys.
I like.
A
I
periodic
like the.
table?
I always thought natural law was enough. If someone's making rules, or people are making rules. Like, who made the rules?
I mean, the
Why do the
most
rules
intelligent.
require a creator? Like you're
Yeah,
you're just
doesn't
assuming
natural.
there's a creator without saying why you think that.
Dude,
Bro,
I think
you think
I,
that?
I think
I
what
don't
Ether
think
was saying before is that he was trying to say that nature seems to have a harmony, right? Nature has a structure, it has a symmetry with all the animal species. All the animals have their own biology, their own anatomy, they all function in certain ways. So because of how all the way that nature works in cycles, and it has like a continuous system that accounts for life on Earth, he's just saying that there must be some form of design behind that. Doesn't mean he's referring to any book or some stupid religion. He's just acknowledging there has to be some form of design behind it. You
Also,
know,
I
He's
have a
assuming,
question.
he's just assuming that.
I have
Correct.
a
And I'm
question for you,
asking
though.
why ought we, like, saying that there is balance, saying that there, like, we've reached an equilibrium in certain respects. I get that, and that can be seen as harmony and in awe, like make you in
Hey,
awe. But the idea that it has to be created is still unjustified.
well, yo, you cited natural law, right?
Yeah,
And like, so what do you mean by that?
I said like, or sorry, in terms of what created the gear in
Yeah.
the back of a mosquito, like the process of wing development through evolution on that organism.
You're familiar with like the natural law, just historically or whatever, is very much linked to a belief in the creator, just in on its on its face.
Sure, I have heard that before.
So when you like, and all we're saying is that like, and I guess maybe the gentleman before me highlighted pointed out to whatever needed, like the idea that I'm not talking about like a god of the Bible or the god of this. It's like the idea that these are indicative of creation. It's like the idea, and I know this will just take this conversation into a 5 hour another direction, but like the idea that gas pressure is in. Would you agree with this statement? Gas pressure is indicative of containment.
Sure.
Okay, awesome. Right. And so like, just this like I think like if you look at upon like it's like the creation the fact of fly exists and its wing structure exists. Never mind the ecosystem it supports. But like that itself is evident or you know what I mean? It implies creation.
Would you guys hurt a fly?
No, but we could talk about
Yeah,
how
I'll kill a fly.
we could
Fucking
we
right.
could talk about how you need forces acting upon matter in order for it to be in a space. Like we can say that, and like we can also like hypothetically through physics, like remove such forces. But it's different when it, like when we're talking like when you said gas pressure is indicative of containment. It's like, yeah, we have an idea of the way that this matter works and forces that would act upon it. But then when you change that to like everything just looks like it's designed, I don't get it. It really doesn't make any sense to me. Because things that appear completely random, completely undesigned intuitively to my mind, say the organization of sand on a beach, or uh, uh, the formation of mountain ranges.
See, I'll tell you
Those
what
don't
though.
those don't appear to be created to me.
Okay,
But
well, check it
if
out.
we take the creation side, then that is necessarily created. So the argument that something looks designed in a world where things don't look designed are still designed, it's not a very strong argument.
Well, okay, you don't have to go to Mount Everest, right? Like, look at your fucking hands, right? The idea that you have hands that actually feed a face that you have. You know what I mean? Like
But
that
you're putting the
alone.
cart behind the horse. It is just
Well,
the
no, it's
case that I
well. I
have
mean, if there's no
right?
other way to look at it, though, unless you know what I mean. Unless it's hypothetical theoretics, right?
Wait,
Because
what about
we
me having
have well, no,
hands
no,
means that
what
I'm
we have in
created?
front of us. Well, hold on. What we have in front of us is created. So all you have is this to even like interpret any of this off of. Is like the creation part is already there. It's in front of you. So like what I'm trying to say though is that you are now trying to like I don't know how I don't know how you could look at it any other way personally. Like other than the fact that like you are witnessing things that are created, like whether man-made or otherwise. But like when it comes to bugs or something like that, we know that's not man-made. So if that's just a natural impulse of creation or of life, then it implies creation,
No,
which
I
would
don't
imply a
think so.
creator.
I don't think
Because
so, because those things all being natural, right? Naturally occurring, no creator, then you have, like, everything still exists as it is. We have human made things, and then we have non-human made things, and there happen to be similar qualities among them within the natural world. That it's not like that contradicts itself. It's not internally incoherent. But
well,
you all say that based on reality, it can't be, and I flatly reject that.
you cannot hold the position of natural order and natural law and claim it all came from chaos. They're contradictory positions.
What's the P and not P? What's the contradiction?
The contradiction is we have natural law and natural order that cannot come from chaos.
No, that's you just saying it again. That's that's not a justification.
So you're saying chaos equals order?
No, throughout chaos,
According to the Roman,
particular patterns can arise from chaos.
that's what the Roman said, no? Order out of chaos.
Particular patterns can arise from chaos. It is possible for me to take 1,000,000 six-sided die and roll a 1 on all of them in one roll.
Yeah, what are the odds of that?
Not very high, but you would not say it's impossible, correct? You would say it's possible because it is.
It's theoretically possible. Can you do it? No. Can I do it? No. Can I make a tree? No. Can I make a grain of sand? No. So what do I have to deduce from that when I know everything is created? Intelligently
You just
designed.
say
You just said
you're just
use a
saying it's
dice.
created.
A dice is like the definition of order, right? It has a specific number of sides, specific number of numbers, and you're trying to say that's chaos.
No, it's because it's not regarding the natural essence of the die, right? It's talking about the action of it being rolled, imports the chaos into the system. So
The
from
dice
that
will
chaos, you can get order.
the dice will never give you order, only give you probability.
Nope. So it seems like we're talking past each other there, because the order that I'm speaking of is that there's a probability that you would get 1 on all 1,000,000 of the dice that you roll.
You could definitely get order out of chaos. Okay, picture this scenario. right? Check this scenario out. You have infinite typewriters. Okay, near infinite. Obviously, you're never gonna have infinite typewriters. Say we just devoted all our energy into making typewriters. And then you get near infinite monkeys, right? We devote the rest of our resources into monkeys. Eventually, they're going to come up with some kind of coherent sentences and words and stuff. You know, you might even get a paragraph. You might get all of Shakespeare. Like, who knows?
Wait, you were cutting out there. Did you have almost infinite time as well?
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah, dude, you're
Bro,
just
we can
roboting
do
really
this
bad.
with a quick 5 seconds in this hour. Hello, can you hear me?
Cutting out for me.
We can do this right now in 5 seconds with the
Yeah, you're
library of.
roboting.
Well, I guess if you have near infinite monkeys, then yeah, probably.
That's only theoretical nonsense again. That's only theoretical. Not you can't do it. It can't be done. You can think about it and you can write it in a book,
It's
but
not
you can't.
theoretical.
No,
Yeah, you can't.
It's not theoretical. We have that actually does the same thing, just without the monkeys and without the physical typewriters. The Library of Babel brute force puts letters, smashes letters together, and you end up getting coherent sentences and paragraphs. Like, this is reality. You can actually do this.
That's interesting.
What'd you say? Did it a computer? What'd you say? I didn't.
Yes, we can do it
I was-
without the monkeys and without the typewriters. We can do essentially the same thing they're doing and just slam letters together with a space, a period, and a comma, and eventually you'll start to get sentences, paragraphs, and shit like that. It's called the Library of Babel. We have it right now.
Are you sure about that, though? You really think that's? I mean, that the Library of Babel thing. Do you know exactly how that really works, though? Like background of it, because there is like a computing language involved in it.
It uses a pseudo algorithm, a pseudo random algorithm thingy, and it essentially
It would
just
just be
smashes
that
letters
thing's
together.
not actually. It have to be that thing. Because I don't know that the idea that form sentence, because that's kind of going into the whole Big Bang thing. That would say that's kind of going along with that idea to even do that. Because otherwise
No,
you
that's
need
the Big
design
Bang
and
shit.
intention. You need design and order.
People
I'm
are
just saying, bro, if you
confusing
smashed a
chaos
whole
with
bunch of
randomness.
letters, if you just kept smashing a whole bunch of letters together, eventually you'd get we can get it in pi. We can actually get it in pi. If you run pi out long enough and do base 27, eventually you'll get a word in there. You know what I'm saying? You like a coherent word.
Exactly. It's very, very good, Jeremy.
I'm not going with the Big Bang, Geo. I'm just saying like this. The thing is, you can get
Order
some
out of
kind of
chaos.
like order out of just like, you're not going to get a engine if a hurricane goes through things that can happen, but just with the letter. I'm not trying to defend the Big Bang bullshit.
You can also get order. Go ahead, Racky.
You just took all the airplane parts, the letters, mixed them up, and then said over time, with enough people banging them together and throwing them around like a storm, with enough time, it would form an airplane. It's a ridiculous way of thinking to think that a man-made computer or whatever you're talking about, I guarantee it's probably man-made, came up with this, and you're now saying it could be true. It's just like a hurricane going through a scrapyard with only one plane of scrap in there, even chopped up into pieces, saying it could put it together as an airplane again. It's ridiculous with amount of time. Like,
yeah, and your analogy is
No, that's a
meant.
big
The analogy is me.
Physical thing is
Wait,
way
Jeremy, can I
different
please
from
respond
the,
to what he's saying?
Yo, bro, I know you can hear me, dude. Stop. You're just causing. Every time you do this and don't stop, it causes audio chaos. I'm not saying you can do it with a plane. That's physical reality. I'm saying with these letters and numbers and stuff, you can do it like that. It is doable. They do it. We can do it.
So I'll go with Richard Dawkins' response in regards to this hurricane through a scrapyard argument. The idea that you're taking all of these parts of an entire, like you need all of them together to make a plane, is where the analogy breaks down. If you were to take a mousetrap, right, which has few simple parts, even the base of the mousetrap, the wooden block, serves a purpose and can be utilized. You then just get the arm, which is not spring loaded, and it has another use. You add the spring and it's able to hold paper down. You add the lever, then it can launch things. You add food on the front, there you go, you got the full trap. So the fact that some things being missing from the overall object doesn't necessarily make it uh, not a utility or not able to do anything.
Maybe we're missing the point here. The idea that, the story goes that the elements existed, therefore life. So, given enough time, a handful of things on the periodic table will turn into everything you see on Earth without rules. And even those elements have rules. That's why we can call them what they are, right? So, how did you
Well,
get the
humans
elements?
made
How
humans
did we get
made
everything from
rules.
elements?
Humans made rules in order to
Which
identify
elements
and
do I need to
categorize
make a
different
chicken?
elements, right? There is just
Yeah,
stuff
because
that
there was rules,
exists,
right? Like,
and humans made rules about this is called hydrogen. That's a rule.
no, it isn't.
Yes, it is. Where do you find it called
Giving,
hydrogen in
giving things
nature?
names is not a rule. Sorry.
Yeah, it is. Because you then use that in order to categorize them.
Definition, he is correct. A rule is a standard, and a name is a part of a standard.
That's a textbook word concept fallacy. Hydrogen and its properties existed without any human beings having to look at or perceive and identify it. You saying, well, someone had to call it hydrogen is a textbook word concept fallacy. We can put whatever word for it, but the concept will still exist independent of human beings. Thank
Except the identification of the thing is only predicated upon rules and controls and experimentation, right? That's how you identify it. It's not like you can actually identify this thing individually out in nature. It's identified by introducing controls, right? And so by reaction, and so by rule and process of elimination, you've created the identification.
Well put.
Well,
Yeah, so
even if you had
the
these
rules existed
molecules that,
independent of humans.
Yeah, I mean, all the more said was that you just have stuff, and then ends up being humans who make like rules about what we call things and act
No, there was a
incredulous or.
pattern before
But
there was a pattern before the human was there to name the pattern.
Yes, and we adhere to them because it's practical, such as math, right? We
what do
use
you
all the
mean there was a
axioms.
pattern before there was a human to perceive the pattern?
Let's say Adam
before
and
there was
Eve.
a pattern, right? There had to be stuff to create that pattern. Where did the stuff come? The molecules and all that stuff. Where did that come from?
Well, like heavier elements are made in stars, and stars go through life cycles in which they are born through the uh, amassing of
A star had
uh,
to be a thing that recursively happened across the universe in an orderly manner for you to even make that claim. So you're done.
yeah, it
Thing is, where
acting
did
in
the
a way
star
that
come
we
from?
call it orderly is well, the answer to your question, Se, is the Big Bang. But um,
What do you mean? You think you can just say Big Bang?
Well,
Where did
that's
the
where it
Big
came.
Bang
You
come
asked what
from?
it. That doesn't make sense. Seems like a category error.
Exactly.
No,
Exactly.
because yeah, there's no. It can't come from somewhere because there was no before it. Time doesn't exist at the moment. Like time as t equals 0, time breaks down. It
Well,
does
you're
not
just
make
repeating a
sense.
dogma, something you've been told, right? I'm sure, like, have you thought this through?
No,
Just
yeah, of
because
course I
somebody
have.
said that.
It was 13 billion years ago, was it? How good is my memory?
Again, you're repeating a dogma. How'd you know it was 13.5 billion years ago? You just heard that from
13.78.
someone and you're
13.78.
repeating it. And by the way, now they're saying it doubled. So you might have to revise your statement there, your dogmatic statement.
I got, yeah, well, it's not, that's an internal contradiction because someone having dogma means that it won't be reconsidered, right? They're holding it as an absolute fact. So
Oh, I agree with you, but they
the
have.
fact that I'm saying I will look at evidence as it is presented and then argue from there is anti-dogmatic.
Okay, but what happens if the evidence that you got, right, from the people you believe in, that now they had to revise their thing and now they're saying that the universe could have doubled in age? What will you do then when no longer that dogma holds true? And I understand
Then I'll
what you're saying,
accept
right? That
the
it's not
current
dogma, but
scientific position because I'm not an astrophysicist, right? I will defer to them on the questions of astrophysics.
okay, at least you're honest. Okay, so you will defer and say it's twice the age. Okay, respect
Yeah,
that. I can respect that.
but I'm not. But I won't do that just because I saw a TikTok that said it. Right? I'm actually going to do my due diligence and look into what is the commonly held position of people within this field. Right?
Right, like a
So
paper written, peer reviewed, and that stuff, right?
yeah, sure.
Okay, so I'm telling you from now, you might have to revise your 13.5 statement. Look into it.
Well, I said 13.787, but plus or minus
Well, yeah,
0.02.
close enough.
Rich, are you open to a young Earth, like with rapid evolution? Because I know it seems like one of the axioms for this evolution, for speciation from molecules to man, requires billions of years. Do you think that it could even happen on a much faster time scale and perhaps it maybe like stopped?
Definitely not on the scale of young Earth creationism. I don't know how close I can push it, um, but like I don't know
Okay.
how like what if you were to ask me, what do you think is the youngest the Earth could have been, and like we wouldn't know the difference from as we do now. I'm not sure. Um,
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, because I think there are some, maybe very few Globers who think maybe it is young and it was just really rapid, like some sort of rapid evolution that maybe stopped for whatever reason. Maybe it's just like how we maybe have lost the ability to produce vitamin C, if that's true. Maybe the ability to continue to evolve ceased. I'm not sure, but maybe some people hold that position. It was really, really fast, and we don't necessarily need billions of years. So,
well, with a miracle, you can account for anything, but without one, creation stories are pretty. They fall pretty flat.
Yeah, flat on flat Earth. I just thought of something dope when Eden said that we would make vitamin C before. All we got to do is genetically modify humans so that we have a little thing on our skin or something to where we can get like energy from sunlight like plants do instead of having to like eat food. That'd be dope. Let's go, CRISPR.
How do you have time again? And how do you have the ability to know that time exists?
That's a
I
good one. Before we
exist.
go into that, give me a second, Rich. I just posted something for you. University of Ottawa saying that they researched it and they're it might be 26.7 billion years ago. You might want to have a look at that. Not a TikTok video.
How do you have the
All right,
ability
Rakia, go ahead, bro.
all you want. I'm shooting like 90% with TikTok.
Yeah. I think I clipped Rakia there. So Rakia, if you want to go.
Yeah. How do you have the ability to process the knowledge of having 27 billion years again? Like, how do you have any of that? How do you have time? How do you have years? How do you have oranges? How do you have the
They don't
brain
know.
without an intelligent designer?
The way you do it, Rakia, is you go to college, you go to university, you get a few bananas on your shirt, and then you can come up with hypotheses. That's simple. That's how they do it.
Well, I get the hypotheses, right? I get the trying to meet a narrative and all that. Like it's very creative, it's very intelligent. But how did you get that ability to do that in the first place again?
It's called going to school. But I know where you're heading at. I know where you're heading at. You're heading at somebody would have to give you the brain, create your brain, your mind, in order for you to have the ability to deduce these things. That's where you're going
Yeah,
to, right, Rakia?
yeah, even to process what you're now saying or now believing. What created that? The ability to do that? You think that's a random process from natural causes? Like I just don't see it, man. I'm sorry. I've been, I am biased. I'll be honest. I'm biased to the point where I can't see it any other way. And every time I talk to the top experts, the ones that come in here, the ones I've talked to at universities, they don't have any answers. They just tell me what they've learned and why they're biased. Like it's a strange phenomenon. They just hate God so much, right? They don't like Christians. That's why he brought up Christians a while ago when he wasn't even talking to a Christian, because in his mind, that guy that believes in intelligent design must be a Christian because that's what he's fighting against. That's what it boils down to. Whether someone believes in a creator, intelligent design or not, and the people who don't believe in it and want to disagree with it so much, they'll say and think and believe anything. Good luck. I wish
Yeah,
you
you
luck.
definitely have the anti-religious folk. That's for sure. Yep.
Right. As soon as they do that, I know their motive, right? It's just a strange phenomenon. It's not a coincidence, right? It's not a coincidence because they're taught that.
Well, depending on how deep you
Well,
go with the idea of a creator or creation, like no matter how deep you go with that, as to what level, is created, or is there like a separate free will from that creation and all of that, however deep you go. But if you go from all the way to the level that every single thing is, as it were, like, doesn't that also mean that the atheist is also part of that creation? Meaning the atheist is created, ironically, even if they don't think they are,
yes.
they are actually the creator creating an atheist.
Of course.
Well, I don't think the creator created an atheist. I think the creator created a human being with the free will and the ability to discern for themselves and decide for themselves and make choices themselves. That's what an intelligent designer would do if he wanted to prove love, right? And if that's what he was even doing the creation for, then of course that's what he would do, because that's the only way to know if someone loves you. Just like your wife or your girlfriend or boyfriend, you make choices that prove your love, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, but
Well,
you
I
could
guess,
even
yeah, that's
argue
why
it
that's
from a non-religious perspective. Even from a non-religious perspective point of view, everything screams at creation, at creator. Everything.
I agree with you, SC. You don't have to believe in God to think there's an intelligent designer that designed a leaf, or just look around, man. And then when you get into the processes of birth and like having to have a male and female, like what came first? what evolved from a fish? If you believe, whatever your theory is, right? We came from fish or monkeys or what? Which male or female evolved first and survived long enough for the opposite sex to evolve and the process to evolve? Like, that's a lot of surviving, buddy.
Yeah, and even the story they give us, evolution, there's absolutely no proof of it. As a matter of fact, it could be debunked very easily. Very easily.
I think there's some there is some like if we use the word evolution, like not in a Darwinian sense, but just things evolve over time, it does seem development. There's a type of evolution. It may not be the Darwinian type, but there is a type of like humans are definitely different now, probably in certain ways than we were like 500.
What do you take Darwinian evolution to mean?
Hold on. I just want to ask Gio before you go to that. What do you mean by different? Are you just talking in a cultural sense or biological sense?
Both, even biological.
Biological. So what's the
I would
proof?
say our jawline probably changed because we had like wisdom teeth, like the wisdom teeth. Like now we have to have them removed all of a sudden. Some people. That's probably one way we've changed.
That's just adaptation within the species, though. That's not species to species.
That's what Gio's
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah,
That's what Gio.
I
That's what
think
Gio's
everybody
talking about.
agrees that happens. That's like obviously the case, but I
Right.
don't
They
think
sounded
species
like
to
they were trying to
species.
challenge him.
Yeah, but that process of that, I mean, adaptation, I think, is a part of it, but there may even be more nuances, like even if we get into genetics, whatever else might be going on, especially with chemicals and things in the environment. But I was just, like, I was saying also that not Darwinian evolution, but just using the word evolution, like to evolve. Like you can evolve in your being a saxophone player. At the beginning, you're not so good, and you evolve into being really good, for example. That's like using that word evolve, and you could say, oh, there's an evolution to my saxophone playing or whatever, just as an example. So I'm saying in these adaptations and the environment and so on, is that a form of humanity evolving, even though it's not necessarily the Darwinian evolution theory form of the word evolution?
Well, that's a far cry from, they say we came from one cell, and that's a far cry from that. That's a whole different thing, Gio.
That's just a generic use of the word evolution, right? There's nothing to do with the other thing.
I wanted to say something that might help with offering a neutral sort of stance, or not stance. So there's no stance I'm taking. I'm just offering perspective that everyone kind of agrees already on at least a few basics, even if they think they don't, maybe. Just because it depends on what interpretation of religion you might have as far as evolution and all that goes. But if we all share a common intelligence, right? Like say, like take an atom for the ballers or for anyone, like just the idea of an atom having an essence of intelligence that connects it to all the other atoms and the whole organism of Earth, let's say. Now, the ballers automatically have to agree with that to some degree because they think it all came from the Big Bang and it coalesced into this ball and everything evolved out of that ball. So it's all kind of one thing in their mind already anyway, because it all came from one source and it all came, from the ball and grew out of the ball or whatever they think. And maybe the Bible believers are thinking that it all came from God. And I think there's this kind of like a little bit of a hang up with it being like we're separate from God. Not to say we are God or we are equal to God or we are the God or God isn't separate. That's not a claim of any sort, but at least it seems that the essence of God, that intelligence is within all of us. And we all kind of probably agree that there's a DNA code or an intelligence to the makeup of a human when it's growing, and that there's even theories or proof possibly that the microzyma are what I'm talking about, that are these intelligent bundles of light at the core of every cell that makes the cell pleomorphic. It makes the cell able to transform into whatever it needs to be, because some microzyma are making the heart, some are making the lungs, and they have to be intelligently connected to know which other microzyma are doing their job to create the brain and the bones, and they're doing the heart, and it all has to be intelligently connected, even within the human body. Now, whether you interpret that as God doing it or the microzyma all connected doing it, we know there's an intelligence to the makeup of the growing body and the healing body, that you can get a cut and the skin heals itself. I mean, I don't think that most Bible believers think that God's healing your cut every time you get it. I mean, it's an intelligence to the network of everything, and everything's connected. At the very least, there could be a God outside, whether it's a big bang or not. Everything's intelligently connected. And it doesn't necessarily need an outside creator if the thing is completely intelligent at its essence. And maybe even these species could come out of nowhere because there's a pleomorphic miracle of some sort that comes out of wherever, because that's what the microzyma are able to do, intelligently connected, and talk about miracles. You don't think it's a miracle for the Big Bang to end up with us? I mean, come on. Sorry for ranting.
But it's all random.
Yeah,
Just
it
keep
doesn't
in
have to be
mind,
random. It's an intelligent, organized network of microzyma that are like in place of the atom in your mind, and it's all the essence of everything has that intelligence. I'm not saying it necessarily created itself, but we create. I mean, a man and a woman come together and they make a baby, and the baby forms all on its own. I don't know if you have to believe that God's doing it every step of the way, or if there's an intelligent code that makes it happen. Either way, there's an intelligent essence to everything that you could call God, or call the connection to God, or whatever you want to call it. I think even the ballers have to agree with that. We talk about DNA, right?
All rational men have to agree that there's some sort of supreme being.
I was gonna say just before I totally lose the thought of it, I appreciated both what you guys said, or just listening to what you guys were saying there. And Dave, for sure, yeah, that's an interesting whole angle as well. But I was just I was in my car and I just got home, so it was before, and then I wasn't able to talk until now. So anyways, it was from a few minutes ago, but I was gonna say how the thing about like the free will with the creator is, like, if you make a car and you make all the parts, you have to then the car has to be programmed in some way. Like, you have to put something into it for it to work, like either a driver or someone to start it, or even like the computer system, you have to program it. If you just make the car on its own, it's just going to sit there and it's not going to do anything. So if you were like the ultimate creator and you made the human, you made the blood and the bones and the all the materials, and then whatever the soul is, you would have to essentially program that soul to do something, to think, or to have a personality or a vibe or whatever it may be. You would have to literally imbue it with something to make it, to animate it. So the idea that a creator could just create a soul and it's just that soul has free will and the creator's not animating it, I don't, that's not possible. Like, you would have to animate that soul with personality, decision making, an idea, something to make it move and walk around and do stuff. Otherwise, you just have a bag of flesh that wouldn't even do anything. So I don't think we could have like ultimate free will from that source, because that source would literally have to make us be who we even are. And then at that point, it's just programming the whole thing. I mean, if we can feel like we have free will, and I think that creator has the free will in experiencing through us, but I'm saying that I don't see any way that you can't not have, you have to put a program, as it were, into it, using that term program. You have to put some information into it for it to actually animate and then do that thing we even call free will. So then that would then imply that the source is not ultimately separate from a free will being, because the source would have to program that being to even be something, in the conclusion of it.
Hey, Gio, if you take the dogma away from that idea of free will and, going against God, or, doing what God, created you to do specifically, if you take that, context away from it, whether that's true or not isn't the argument necessarily. But if you think of God like a wizard, which he would be, outside of the, parameters of the physical world we know of, and he could just put the essence of intelligence that isn't just a predictable outcome for everything. It's that essence of intelligence that has randomness to it, but order as well. and it's like the spark within all of it, and it just grows on its own. And it doesn't necessarily need to be directed by him, but it has that order and randomness, that certain combination that is within everything, that spark. And why wouldn't God just be able to like have it go and not have to worry about every step of the way?
That's interesting you guys said that, right? Because I'm thinking now what Gio said. The car was made, either a driver or AI. There's a purpose for it, right? And I was thinking, what would be the purpose of the creator making us, right? Now, the only thing I can think of that's programmed into us is to reproduce. Can you guys think of anything else?
No, he created us to
Yeah.
love us. He didn't need
To
us.
explore
It's the
chaos.
only reason. He created us out of selfless love, just to have other beings to love.
So reproduction again, more human beings, right?
He's not
I'm
talking about
asking.
that kind of love.
Rationalize his own
But yeah,
That's all I
he
can
existence.
made he
think of.
made he made he made sex feel good because people wouldn't do it if it didn't feel good, and we'd all die out.
Right. That's my
All
whole
this,
point. And why does it feel good? What happens after you have sex? For most of us, babies, right? More of us.
Well, I
Yeah,
think
he
it
wants the
makes
earth to be filled with his image and subdued by his
I
image.
really thought you were going to say fall asleep. See, I was way off.
Have a cigarette. Have a cigarette.
well, it begs the question: did we have free will to use this car, right? This body, was that part of
Well,
the
do you have free
equation?
will with sex? It's like kind of ingrained in you, right? I don't think there's any free will there. Well, to a certain extent, right?
There's the
Yeah,
will to accept or reject.
I'm just saying free will might exist beyond our reality, or might not be part of our reality, but exists in other, you know,
Well,
spiritual
I'd say it's
soul.
very obvious to all of us that we all make decisions every day, and to deny that would just to fall into solipsism.
No, but why did the creator create you? For what purpose?
To
That's
love me.
probably an untangible question, right?
Right.
What
And the
purpose
only
does
thing
the
I can
love? I
think
think
of
he's
is,
asking what purpose. What purpose does the love serve?
well, no, not really. No,
That's
because when you
God's
make
nature.
something, right? When you make something, think of it. Everything that's made, right? Paper is to write on, a pen is to write, a bottle is to keep something in it, and so on and so forth, right? A blanket is to keep you warm. So why did the creator create us? For what purpose? That is the ultimate question, right?
To pour out his love and mercy on us.
Now that doesn't make sense. Sorry, bro, but I mean, love and that.
It's in God's nature. He's a loving God.
I wonder if there could be purpose, or at least people that are like set on having to believe that there's a certain interpretation of the Bible or something that is the answer. If that, whether that's true or not, again, would there be purpose still if all of our existence is for each of us to live our individual lives, but then we're part of the whole? Like we live on, whether our own brain lives on or our own soul lives on, we live on because we are all one thing. I mean, not to get too hippy dippy about it, but I mean that's just if you adopt that mindset, it doesn't take purpose away that there wouldn't be an afterlife. In my opinion, it's like I think that if we're all competing to get to heaven, and then I think there might be a psyop included that maybe the interpretation of the Bible that we have now doesn't include it. But I think separating God from us completely is part of the psyop, if there is a psyop. Saying there is, but if there is, that could be part of the psyop to separate us from God and think that we're not part of each other. Because if we're all part of each other and we're all connected by that source, that intelligence, that God, whatever it is you want to call it, that would make us like one thing and look out for each other and treat each other differently instead of I get mine and you get yours and I'm going to heaven and you're not. I think that might be the way they want it because it makes us separated. That's all.
Well, look, that could be true, right? That's like a metaphysical thing. We can leave that to the philosopher, the priests, and other people. I'm talking about pragmatic, right? What do our bodies do, right? So I look at it like a machine, right? For a lack of a better term now. A man has sperm and a woman has ovaries, right? And it's a design to reproduce another human being. Think of it. That could be that's like the main purpose, if you want to break it down to a machine, or for a lack of a better term, right? That is the purpose of us, to make other beings. Think about it.
Yeah, it could be interpreted
Yeah, I would
that
say
way.
that's short-sighted. That's one thing. Human beings do other things. We invent things. We govern nature. I mean, we do a lot of things. Think about all the eunuchs that have existed. You're basically saying, oh, once you became a eunuch, you're worth less than dirt. You're worthless. You have no purpose.
Well,
That's
that
just
could
not
be
the case,
explained
bro.
away with.
Some of the greatest men of history never had children. So
Well, that could be explained
Well,
away as a glitch, a fault. Like I don't want to say gay people, right? Because I don't want to insult them, but you know what I'm saying. That could be like a glitch in the system.
Well,
what
SE, when you
SE? What
say
could you?
gay
SE,
people are
real quick,
outside
could
of
you
the
imagine?
matrix.
See, could you imagine a purpose, like all of existence, right? Like all of existence is perpetuating itself, whether it's trees, birds, humans, whatever it is. Like all of existence, what would be the purpose of all of existence?
Well,
Could we
that is
even
the million
imagine
dollar
what that could
question,
be?
bro. Yeah.
Right, it's unanswerable. I mean, unless we knew the mind of God or knew what God was or whatever.
Yeah, but I've used
Look,
the example of like a lucid dream. So imagine if you could go into a lucid dream and then it was just a blank slate and you could just do anything you wanted. You could create an entire city, you could create an ocean, you could create a whole earth, you could create anything you want in that lucid dream. You could even create a bunch of different people that sort of feel like they have free will. You could do all of it. You could create the whole world. So if the source of what we are actually did that initially, SE, what if from that perspective, wouldn't it just be in the same way, like if you're in a lucid dream and you have a blank slate and you can just create anything you want, the purpose would be, well, ultimately it could be for just the experience of it all and just to create that. Wouldn't there be like many purposes? Like if there was an ultimate source that created that and it's just doing it all because because it wants to and there's intention behind it, wouldn't that be the purpose?
yeah, yeah. Look, I like that idea that you came up with, that says the creator did that to experience different things, right? Sure, I can buy that, but it still doesn't explain why he made us to reproduce, because he could have just made as many as he wanted, right? You understand what I'm
Okay.
saying? And my other beef is the food part, right? Why did he make everything food? Why did he make everything eat itself? So
Well, because
there's
then it
things
makes
that
it
we
an
can imagine could happen, but I look at the actual things, right? That he
but if
did
this
do.
Right, but if this creative intelligence created this world, to me, I don't think that means there's any limit as to what else it could create in other worlds or other dimensions as well. So there may be other dimensions where we don't procreate, where we don't eat each other, as it were, like, well, we don't eat animals, where there's not the same nature thing. Like maybe, like you said, maybe there's other worlds where the beings are just made in some way and then they just die, or maybe they never die even. There's even could be worlds that are eternal where you never die. So that could all have been done in different levels of reality. But what about in this one? This one has this experiment, if you want to call it that, or like this particular one would be one that has the nature where the lions eat the gazelles and all of this, in this particular one. And what if it created this just to have this variety of consciousness, and then there's other ones that maybe don't have these factors, or maybe where you don't even die. Or you don't have the experience of dying in a physical body, I'm saying, in other
Well,
Oh
worlds.
yeah,
actually,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, a god would have ultimate creative possibilities, right? So yeah, I mean, for sure.
So as far as beings go, we come into this world programmed with two things: survival instincts and emotions. Survival instincts tell you what to care about, right? You need these things to exist: eat, sleep, food, shelter. And the emotions tell us what we, prioritize. Even not caring is a form of caring. So I think we're here for the experience of caring.
Caring, I would highly doubt that one, right? Because if the creator was about caring, right, why would he make us food? That's one of my biggest beefs, right? Just
We have to
doesn't
care.
Well,
jive.
there has to be balance, SE. Like, you can't just have everything live on forever. Otherwise, everything would just be, it wouldn't work. There wouldn't be any kind of, you know,
No.
everything,
Yeah.
dying and eating itself is part of the process of the balance of nature. I mean, it just has to work that way for it to even exist the way it does.
Actually,
Well, how
Anybody
death.
about his
respects the
creations
food.
that don't wait until you die? They eat you while you're alive.
Sure.
I mean,
You got to
your
learn to
argument
respect it.
is good until the alive part.
Well, that's
Well,
where it's
death.
like don't you think that if it's, I think it almost has to be random and not coded to be a certain exact way. In fact, if we were told the exact purpose, if we all knew somehow, like, here's your purpose, this is the exact purpose for all of human existence, wouldn't that suck? It'd be like there'd be no questioning, there'd be no adventure. It would like make life not be life any longer because seeking is a key part of life.
Yeah, like SE, when you think about like if you were like when you were a child or just someone who is a child where you have that like that everything is interesting and amazing and like beautiful and you want to explore things, the way a child just has that like wanting to explore. What if that is part of the reason that we're doing all this in consciousness is to have that like to have that feeling where it's new again and fresh again and where you're exploring something and the exciting nature of that.
Well, I get that. I get that and understand all that, but it still doesn't answer that question, right? We can have all that without the fear of being eaten, or without literally every creature eats another creature,
Well,
with a few
You can
exceptions
love
that
what
are
you can care for what you eat, SE. I mean,
Well,
if
that's
you
just on
think of
this that's on this plane of reality, yeah. But yeah, I mean that there's like video games that people make where there's like you're like hunting or you're like survival games or like The Sims, like that type game. So
if
I
you
mean,
think about it,
it's a game in its own way.
if you think
Does
about
that
it,
have to be
death.
part of it though? Does God want to, like, does God have to include that? If God created us, does us eating each other have to be part of his plan?
But it's not
Or
just
could
us,
it
and
just
we'll let the other
possibly be,
gentleman go in. He's trying to get in.
go
It's
ahead,
not
sorry.
just us, bro. It's all the creation, all the creators. I mean, all the creatures except the vegetarian ones, right? But all the other ones, they eat other creatures, and so do
Yeah, you
we.
could argue that the vegetables have feelings too, though. I mean, where do you draw the line?
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
was
think
gonna say that.
Joseph Campbell said that there was a phrase Joseph Campbell said something to the effect of the vegetarians are just not sensitive enough to hear the tomato scream when they cut it.
Yeah.
Who wasn't trying
Go
to get
ahead.
in? I didn't mean to
Let's let the
over
other
talk.
guy go in. I'm
Yeah, I
sorry.
was
I
gonna
don't know.
say actually, death. If you think about it, death is what creates a lot of the meaning because when you see death, it makes you appreciate your immediate experience. For example, if you have a family member who dies, a close family member, you will start to reminisce and think about the blessing of life in a sense. So, in a world with no death, I think it wouldn't make sense to not have or to have that appreciation for life. So, there's a symmetry between life and death, right? That's part of the creation.
Absolutely.
So,
It's the good and the bad. You wouldn't appreciate, if you didn't have the bad days, you wouldn't appreciate the good days. You have to have both to have that appreciation on the smallest level, even.
Yeah. Look, I get the death part, right? We all have to die. We can't live forever, whatever, right? But I'm talking about being eaten alive, right? I'm talking about a spider. This creator created a spider that injects something, right? Paralyzes it, then cocoons it. Like, this is a horror movie. Then cocoons it, then injects it with something else that dissolves its innards while it's still alive, right? And then sucks it out, jellifies
we
it and
learn to
sucks it
love.
out. What kind
We
of
need to learn to love
thing
that.
would create that?
Yeah, I saw a video the other day where there was like in the African there was it was like a tiger of some sort or like I don't know if it was a lion or a tiger. It was a large cat like that and feline as it were and snake bit it and the snake bit it and then his whole the face of the tiger or whatever got huge. It was like puffed up like twice as 2-3 times its normal size. I guess they went out there and they injected it with some vaccine, well, like an anti-venom, not a vaccine, but an anti-venom to like save its life. And then after they injected the anti-venom, because it was about to die, and then after they injected the anti-venom, it was able to live. And but yeah, I mean that snake was about to kill that big tiger. So, dude, I hear you, man. There's crazy levels of that, but I still think from a perspective of an ultimate, omnipotent, omniscient, etc., like creative source of intelligence. I mean, again, I guess if you think of this realm as being the only one, it's like, oh my gosh, all of creation is like eating each other. But in my view, like this is only one realm of many, many, many others. So it's just one. And therefore, to have one of them, there's actually other ones I think like this too, though, that have this whole where the animals eat each other thing. I think there's a bunch of other ones actually, and then there's some that don't have that. But for the ones that do, it would just be another thing to create. Like that thing you just described, the spider and like venoms and all that stuff. Like that's another part of the infinite, brilliant, omnipotent, omniscient, creative intelligence that it can even do that. Almost like a movie. If you were to make a movie where the spider does that or whatever, well, the source of all of this is actually just doing it in what we call real life instead of in a movie.
And if it is true that like after you die, you go into a metaphysical state that's just pure bliss, or even if you're just a part of the one and you don't have your own individuality and it's just pure bliss, it's a release from the physical world, which is where pain comes from. So there's all certain levels of that in the physical world.
Yeah, if
I
it's
don't
all
know,
like a
man. It's
matter of
just
like a spectrum of consciousness, like if you have the source and then all what we call our individual selves as a part of a whole spectrum, then like our individual self would exist eternally. At the same time, it's like the way holograms work, where there's like the part and the whole are contained. The part contains the whole contains the part. So in that way, like I don't think you ever have to lose your individuality to go back to the source, because your individuality like exists eternally as its individual self, and then also as the source. Like they both exist eternally.
Kind of like it
Anyways,
is here now.
Yeah, I think you should be thankful you're not a spider, right? That's sort of the idea. Like there's like with the praying mantis eats the male as soon as they breed. And be thankful you're not that, right?
there's other animals where they eat their young too. Yeah.
But we don't know what
Crazy.
those animals feel, though. You know what I mean? We only know our experience.
No, I agree. I think a lot of people tend to what's it called, anthropomorphize like animals into that they have human
Right.
emotion.
If there
But
weren't
it
those
is
horrible things, then those miracle awesome things, again, like you were saying about the death, gives you appreciation for life. If you weren't
right.
having like horrible spider deaths, sometimes you wouldn't have like the miracle birth appreciation in the same way.
Yeah, be thankful you're not a fly. You'd be, eating shit all day.
Yeah, I mean, it does look like other animals suffer to a degree, but they may not. Like, okay, if anyone in here went out in the woods and we got mauled by a bear, that would be traumatizing. I mean, you're gonna have all your human emotions. It's gonna feel like this huge thing is just slashing you and coming after you and just biting into your neck or whatever, like something really intense like that. You'd probably be like swearing at it and stuff or whatever. You'd be angry and trying to fight your way. But that's like a human. And then you'd have all your human emotions. And we know that the human, I mean, I know certainly like the way that trauma works on a deep level is intense, and like humans get traumatized. It does seem like animals do too, to a degree. Like a dog can be traumatized, but they may not. But dogs are also like semi domesticated now. But like other animals, like what happens like to a gazelle when it gets eaten by a alligator or something to that effect, or gets eaten by a tiger or lion, or just something like in that environment? Like it definitely looks like they're suffering, like they're running away. They don't want to be taken out, but at the same time, like they may not have all the same human thoughts and emotions. It may be different for them. They may not even feel pain the way that we do either, potentially. At least not in the same
I would
way.
like to go backwards a little bit. There was somebody who was like, "Be thankful you're not a fly, then you'd be eating shit all day." And I would just like to follow up with that I love honey.
So you
Well,
want to be a bee in your next life?
shit might be like honey to fly. Shit may be like honey to
Yeah,
flies as
it's all
honey.
relative.
Yeah, something like that.
Who loves money?
Those male bees
Well,
don't do so well. Check out what the male bee does.
Think about the white blood cells in your body, or how your body kills off certain things and it exists as one thing. If all of existence is a one thing, and there's some things that are horrible and some things that are great, but there's this universal consciousness that we may not be tapped into directly. But I think we all kind of feel like it's there. Like it all that the whole experience has to have all the facets for it to be the whole experience.
Well, that's pretty easy, right, for the apex predator, which would be us, right? Living comfortably in our homes and that. But imagine if you're in Africa, like from the moment you open your eyes, right, till the time you close them, if you're lucky enough, it's a battle for survival. It's a battle to get food and not to be eaten. That's their whole existence from the morning till the night.
Well, I see. I
Yeah.
hear you. No, I know it is intense, dude. Nature is very intense, and like like ants, like their whole life of ants, they're all just trying to like break down things and find things in the environment. All of nature is nuts, dude. It's like you see like in a movie where they'll do like that fast pace where you're zooming in and out and you're seeing all these different like levels of reality and all these different images and stuff, like and like atomic bombs going off and stuff. Like there's so much going on in nature, like the intelligence, and I don't necessarily even just mean from a creator level, but just the intelligence of the intelligence of ants to do what they do. Like they build entire rivers of their own, or they build bridges over water sources with their own bodies. Like they don't have any like sergeants really, anyone telling anyone what to do. They all just do it. They know how to build a bridge with their dead bodies to where the living ones can then walk across the bridge of dead ants to get across water sources. It's unbelievable.
They're all connected. They're all connected intelligently, experiencing it all together, doing what they're supposed to do because it's all one thing. What species like that?
Yeah, the hive mind. Yeah.
But I was going to say too, like I think what I was going to say though is that if I mean, I see if you want to create a world like this one where you have like water and earth and air and everything we have here, and then you were going to create some kind of beings on it, like that was your idea, you wanted to create all that. Well, if you're going to make those beings like survive over time and procreate, then wouldn't you have to have some food source for them so that their physical bodies, made of flesh and all of this, or the insect body or whatever, would be able to recreate and procreate? So then you would potentially need a nutrient, unless you're going to have some kind of like free energy or some different type of way it's happening. But like if you're going to have it in this way where you have like you're going to need nutrients, then at that point you have the alternative, like, okay, you either have them eat well, some people talk about like breatharians, like living off the air or like live off the sun. Okay, well, those are pretty dramatic. I mean, if you're going to create that, it's fair enough. But if that's not the situation right now, then you have, okay, maybe eating other plants. And if you're going to eat other plants, well, now you're like chewing the limbs off of a living being. You're going up there and just eating the limbs, basically, off of the plant. Even though the plant can regrow them, so you do have that as regenerative. But nonetheless, I mean, if you just get a chunkier thing eaten off, like that's probably not what your goal is. Like you're trying to get as much sunlight and trying to survive. Like the plant's trying to survive. It's not really wanting to get eaten. So anyways, you have the option of eating plants. And yeah, maybe this world could have been made where everything could have been vegetarian or vegan kind of thing. But then if you go to the next level, then you have the biological animals eat each other. And then you get into carnivore and all of that. So, and even in the world, we have omnivorous animals, carnivorous, there already is all of these. So are you just saying that you don't like that, or can't kind of settle in your mind why a creator would make the one where you're eating each other, basically, like the carnivore one?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It kind of worries me. Like,
Yeah, real quick.
It worries you that the
Sorry,
creator's insane?
well, I wouldn't put it that way, but
there's a little bit of insanity in there,
you
but
said
even
that,
that's created from the brilliance, so it's all good. Go ahead.
you said this before though, like even cows aren't true herbivores because there's little bugs and worms and stuff, and they're eating them. You know what I'm
They
saying?
eat
Like,
little rodents too. Yeah, a cow
that's
will
what I'm
just
saying. Like a
eat a
world.
mouse. Yeah.
Yeah, but even without the mice, like just on accident, it's going to eat bugs. So like
Oh yeah.
it'd be almost impossible to do a world where it's actually no living thing gets eaten. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, how about that? If you're going to make the insects, SC, the insects are going to be on the plants that are going to get eaten, even if we did only eat plants. So what about that? That poor little insect just got a mouth. He's now in the stomach of a goat somewhere because he ate the leaf.
well,
I mean, that
well,
sounds
yeah,
like a
you're
nightmare.
making
You're a
you guys
happy
are
little.
making my
You're
point for me,
you're
right?
happy.
Think about it this, right? God is the ultimate, could do anything, right? He could have made us not eat. Period.
Okay.
You
Well,
live
that's what I was
70
saying. That's an
years, you
option.
die peacefully. How about
No, I hear
that?
you. Just how
Not,
about
I
just
don't want
live
to
off
play
the
God,
sun?
but I mean, since you asked,
I hear you. You could make a being, even like a human, that could just live off the sun. Just your body, your liver, everything works perfectly. But then you'd have to have a different type of reality, though, where because in this world there's like entropy and there's the physics and there's all the things in this
No,
world though, that go
you
with it.
have your
I hear you.
skin. You have your skin be made out of the stuff that plants have, where they can turn. They can photosynthesize.
there
Right.
It's
you
just on
go.
your skin
But
now.
even plants use nutrients from the soil, and they broken down insects and all the stuff that goes into the soil and bacteria and stuff.
It's a
See,
little
my
bit
You do
point
need
is,
nonsensical,
fertilizer.
actually.
Yeah, you do need some kind of broken down organic matter for the plant to even do its thing, right?
See, you could say, why didn't he just make it be light all the time without any darkness? I mean, you have to have the balance for it to be existence as we
That
know
would
it.
be
I mean,
dope,
I don't get why
bro.
there
That'd
has
be
to be
so
like
dope if it was
everything
always
lives
daytime.
forever. We would never appreciate life if we didn't have death, like the guy was saying. I mean, you wouldn't have the extremes of the, good and bad. But if it was all just like one thing that it just lived on and there was no death, it doesn't even make sense that way. I'm not saying it's all good, but it's not all good or all bad.
well,
That makes sense.
that almost kind of sounds like Stockholm syndrome, with all due respect, right? I mean, I can go out life without needing an operation, without getting cancer, without being eaten. You know what I'm saying? It still doesn't excuse the that kind of a system. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can
Yeah,
say,
but
"Oh, well, that's the way it is," because I wouldn't know what pain was without not having pain. But is that really a good excuse?
Well, yeah, but you have no idea how existence would even be, or what if it would be better or worse if God created everything never to die.
So
It may suck really bad.
I didn't say
how do you
never to
work
die.
how do you work that into God's perspective of life then if he's doesn't die?
I don't think any of us die. Like ultimately, I mean, the human body does die
Yeah.
in our
I,
time kind of experience, but
I was
nothing
gonna
actually dies ultimately on the ultimate level. I think everything's eternal.
I was gonna say something to that because what if there's like a fairness law, which is that there's a hierarchy in nature, and this comfortable life that you say that humans have is like the highest form of life on Earth as a species, right? As an animal species. So all these animals in nature that are experiencing like being eaten alive and death and torture and pain will eventually level up to the ranks, so to speak, and get to the point where they can also be a human being and thus not have to go through all of that. So that, in a sense, justifies the pain and suffering that you went through when you were in the lower forms of life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but
Well, it could
why
also
even
be
put us through that is I think where SC is coming
Exactly.
from.
Exactly, bro. You
Want to have an
said it.
answer?
but it could be argued that humans actually have the most amount of pain and the least amount of bliss amongst all of the living creatures.
Yes,
Because we
some
have this
animals.
burden, this intelligence, and we hurt each other, and we go through all our agony, and maybe there's a state of bliss that we can't even get to because we have this mind that kind of overrides our existence, being like a child.
Yeah,
Yes,
there's
some
people
animals.
there's
Hold
people
on.
suffering there's people suffering of like depression, drug addiction, all kinds of stuff, just crying, all kinds of emotional uh tension and so on. I was gonna say torture, but it's not always torture for people, but it could be, or just extreme tension. Whereas like some dog is just happily jumping around and playing with a frisbee, or some deer out in the
Yeah,
forest is bounding along, like happy as can be. Or you ever see a deer, like a wild deer, just lying down and just chewing and just chilling in the shade, like
right.
it's like they're in bliss. Yeah,
I don't have to go to work. I
And
have
then
no
a wolf comes along.
responsibility. Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
they're
So
not.
then he goes to bliss. He goes to bliss after he dies. He's even better off after that, maybe. You
Well, that's
know.
what. Yeah, that whole idea is interesting too. That we're going through like a test of sorts, or like a whole, by trial, by fire kind of thing, where we're, everything, especially if you see it from a reincarnational lens, that you're reincarnating and going through painful things, but that there is some kind of an overall like building or even like, some kind of expansion or like, even if you use the term like enlightenment or some kind of evolution going on, like with the soul to kind of go through all these things. But I was going to say also, SC, so where do you draw the line of like, so we could say there's things that seem positive and seem negative. Like, for example, if you're out in the woods with your friends and you're on mushrooms and you're having an amazing time and it's just incredible, that's amazing, right? But how about another scenario where you're out in the woods and a boulder falls down and crushes you and kills you, and you're trapped under the boulder? Let's say you're alone. You're trapped under the boulder for like days, just starving and dying. Like where's the line there? So that's not really an animal eating another animal, which I know what you mean. Like I was gonna say before, like when the insect's on the leaf and a huge animal eats it, it's like that, that insect just getting eaten, basically, eaten alive. But what about like, yeah, like I said, you're out in the forest with your friends on mushrooms, it's amazing. Another time you're by yourself, a boulder comes down and crushes you, and you're screaming, no one's there to hear your screams. You're just like, maybe you got a broken leg, your lung is punctured, and you're under a boulder, and you're just lie there for 3 days until you finally just die. You know what I'm saying? So like what about that? Or maybe even stay there longer and then you end up like getting some infection, whatever it is, right? You're going to die eventually with no food. But like, so that would be considered a more negative thing, right? Or drowning or all kinds of other things. Where's the fine line? Because like the boulder thing, that doesn't even have the intention of like some, an animal that's hunting a prey and then it's eating it. But I mean, what would you know what I mean? Like that's something that's pretty torturous for a human to go through or an animal, but then that exists too.
Yeah,
And
why wouldn't God make a world without boulders? God should never
No,
have
I
made
have an
boulders.
answer for that. Because
yeah,
that
then
would
you'd
be
have
an
no boulders.
accident, right? That would be an accident. That wouldn't be by design, right? Because the lion is a carnivore. It's designed to hunt and kill other things that are alive.
But
So I
aren't the
get what you're
boulders?
saying,
Well,
Gio, but that would go
No, but I
under
was
an
saying there is
accident.
design. Well, because the boulders, like the earth moves, it doesn't spin and rotate. But I'm saying the earth shakes like in earthquakes, but it also just move like you have weather and pressure changes and temperature and stuff. So the boulder fell. Isn't that designed too, though? Like there's erosion that happens, the rocks are settling, maybe there was lightning that hit nearby, whatever it is, the rain. All of that is by design for that boulder. Avalanches are by design, and you can get,
well,
killed in an avalanche, for example. Boulders are designed too to fall that way, aren't they? I mean, that's
this
how
is
they.
how I this is how I look at it. If the creator is all knowing, then he intentionally put those things in. I would like to hope that things that can accidentally go that way is because of a lack of knowledge, because obviously it's created, right? But if he's all knowing, then he intentionally created those things knowing that those bad experiences will and could happen.
Well, now I'm
It almost
even
seems
more
like
depressed than
the
before
design
what
has
Gio
to.
said, because then it's all by design. It's all like bad omen.
Well,
That's
what if
even
part of
worse
the
than
design is?
my idea.
But it's not all bad.
What
It's
if
good
part of
and
the
bad.
design is not to have some of those things, like maybe the us eating each other? That wasn't part of his plan or design or whatever. If it was a plan, it's just the way everything. I mean,
That's my point.
intelligently
Then
circles
he's not all
around. Yeah.
knowing.
Well, humans are not supposed
Well,
to eat
yeah,
each
I wouldn't argue he is. I wouldn't argue, but maybe he's within all of us, and we have a universal consciousness. So in that way, he is all knowing because we're aware of ourselves. I mean, as far as knowing the future, that's ridiculous in any context in my mind, just because then there's no excitement to it, even for him. Like if you're just gonna like script it out and watch it play out, what's the fun in that? There has to be some unpredictability factor for it to even work or be enjoyable by anybody.
Well, isn't that where the free will thing comes? Like the scenario Gio gave, right? That I would hate to think that's by design, right? That God designed that rock to fall on you and crush you and leave you there for 3 days. Wouldn't that be part of the free will thing?
Well, see, that goes. Yeah, I mean, how one that go? Okay, well, that goes into what you think what free will is, basically. Ultimately,
It's the unknown. It's the unknown factor. You have to have an unknown factor for it to even perpetuate, right? Random accidents,
Yeah,
design.
I
That's
would agree on
ridiculous.
that.
Well,
Yeah.
well, but you have
randomness.
to time that. Like, dude, the reason I brought that story up, so there's a place called Esalen Institute. It's on the coast, called Big Sur. It's like south of San Francisco, but north of LA. So it's like in the middle, basically between San Francisco and Los Angeles. And it's on the coast, and it's incredibly beautiful. Like these cliffs, the ocean. It's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been, and other people visit there and say the same. Like it's epic. It's like a land of giants. Like it's just incredible. The huge cliffs and the ocean, like the Big Sur Coast, it's called. And there's a lot of like wealthy people that buy huge properties there. You know, $30 million properties on the coast and stuff. It's like really, really beautiful, and it's not overpopulated either. It's even like kind of hard to like. I mean, it's like a little rugged to even get there. There's just like one kind of 2-lane road, and like trees can fall over and stuff. Anyways, it's not like as civil, not like full blown civilization, but there is like little towns and stuff. Anyways, there's a place called Esalen Institute, and it used to be like the ancient Esalen Indians apparently were the natives on that land, but then now it's like a whole retreat center, and there's like hot springs on the cliffs and all that stuff. Anyways, I bring this up to say that a man named Dick Price, he was one of the ones who founded Esalen, like bought the property back in I don't know if he bought it I know it was in the 60s. So yeah, I don't know exactly when he bought it, 50s, 60s, 70s. Throughout those years, he bought the property, et cetera, et cetera. And he turned it into a beautiful retreat center and so on. And there's these hot springs and all this stuff. Well, me and my friends, like we have all gone there and we've taken mushrooms in the woods. And like, that's why I mentioned that, like we've had amazing times in those same woods. Well, he was by himself one time and he was out there and a boulder fell and killed him. That's how he passed. And this was the guy that bought the property, set it all up, made it an amazing place.
Wow.
It was him and others, but he like founded, the property in the way that it is today. And he literally was in the forest. So we were out there on mushrooms and other things too. Like we take like spiritual journeys in the forest. We've had amazing times there, but then a boulder fell and killed him, and he was the one who like bought and created the whole kind of spirit of what it is today. So yeah, I'm just saying that is a real thing. And it's like, yeah, so was that all by design? Because that boulder would have to fall at the exact right time and he would have to be in the exact right place for it to actually take his life. It's a pretty rare way to die, let alone on like a property that you bought and created in that way. So, or if it's just free will, is it just, well, the boulder just happened to be eroded by the water, the rain and this and that. And then he just happened to, be walking, or he had the free will, like, oh, I'm going to go take a hike today. And then he didn't know that would be his last hike, or is it all by design? I mean, I think it's both. I think it's all design. And I think you can have the experience of the free will part of it too. But ultimately, yeah, I mean, I do think everything is by design. Like that was his way to go. And that was meant to be that way. But then you have to
No, no, no.
figure out
God,
why
it's
a creator would
obvious. It's
create that.
obvious that
No, if he gives us
it's
free
obvious
will, but
that
then he
it's
also knows
obvious
it,
that
that doesn't mean it wasn't free will.
I think the obvious conclusion there, Gio, is God was punishing him because he thinks that taking mushrooms in the woods is a sin.
What? No, I
I was
mean,
kidding.
well, I
No, I'm
know, but
saying he punished the guy who created the environment for you to have that enjoyment. Some people could interpret it like God could punish the guy for creating the hippies in the woods with the mushrooms and all the incentives. It depends on how you interpret any of it. I mean, there's no way to know if there's an intention behind it as far as God
well,
goes.
I'm just looking up. He was actually born in 1930, and then he died in 1985. So it looks like in 1962 he bought the Esalen Institute. He's a co-founder of it. So he's not he did it. He co-founded it, and he was a veteran of
Awesome.
the Beat generation. So I think in the 50s, like the Beatniks and all that. So he probably was like, yeah, and it is connected, I guess, to what the kind of hippies of the 60s in a way. But I mean, dude, that place has been like a beacon of light for decades. I mean, back in the 60s and 70s, it was like a melting pot of, all kinds of different thinkers, and Joseph Campbell and all kinds of people were going there visiting, and all kinds of different, there was the kind of psychedelic movement part of it. Also a whole bunch of other things that were like, art, a lot of like art and music and a lot of stuff that was like developing. And then now it's kind of more of like a somewhat like they've kind of turned into a little bit more of like an upper scale kind of retreat center in a way. But anyways, but yeah, I mean, he literally got killed by a boulder
Awesome.
falling on him in the woods of that whole thing that he created. And I mean, the place has been like a beacon of light and like positivity, even though he did die of having a boulder fall on him. So it's like poignant, I think, from like a creator's perspective. There's like a poignancy to creation that I think is
Why
there.
is it so important that God has to be like, planning everything for every single step of the way? Why is that part of like the whole Is it just because of
Well,
the
they try
Bible's
to pretend he's
interpretation?
not omniscient. Then that's just the way they like to attack. They go, "Oh, he didn't know everything," or "You didn't have free will, so he's not nice," or all that. And it's so easy to reconcile both. Everything. I mean, it's so easy.
If he
Well,
knew
let me
everything, though, like I
dig
said,
in.
I mean, I
it
like
would be a
Geo's
detriment.
version.
For him to know everything would suck worse. It's almost like takes away from him, in my mind, for him to like have everything all planned out. Like I said, like that would be less of a godly experience in a way.
He can know the most, you
It
know.
would almost suck to know everything. But if you do the thing Geo says, where God breaks himself down and goes and lives out these experiences, and now you're sitting there as a human, not knowing what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? That's how you get. That's
Yeah.
the only way to go through eternity. Even would be to do that. So you're constantly getting like a fresh new experience. Because otherwise, you're sitting around knowing everything that's going to happen every second of the day. It sounds like it would be a daunting task to even have that happening. So if you put
Great point.
yourself in the thing, and make yourself not know, then you can get through eternity like that. Like
And
Groundhog's Day. Remember?
and what
Well, it's
if
like
you?
putting yourself like if you yeah, like Groundhog's Day. Oh, go ahead if you want to finish.
But what if you're God and you put yourself into this experience? Okay, let's say God has this kingdom and he's surrounded by people who love him and will defend him. Is he willing to give up his kingdom where he's cherished to go into our experience and go through the worst experience by being tortured? Maybe
Okay,
some
so
people.
from the
Go ahead.
well, it depends on what you mean by kingdom, or like if you're putting that through like an Abrahamic God lens, that may have its own connotations. But I would just say briefly, like from the viewpoint of being an omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, like take those three. So like all knowledgeable and all knowing, existing everywhere, and all powerful. So we take those three, whatever that consciousness would be, or that source or creator, however you would call that. Like it's literally has all the now everything. Like that you would then just have all the knowledge, and yeah, I could like you would have everything and you would be everywhere. That I could see like there would be kind of a limit. Well, you could say it's unlimited as well, but there would be maybe some limit to just knowing everything in a strange way. So then the only way that you could then not know everything or have a new experience would be to in some way create some part of yourself that has forgotten or doesn't know all the knowledge, so that now you feel like, oh, now I don't have all the knowledge, et cetera. And then there would be like a separation experience that you could have. Because otherwise you would just never have that. If you were just an undifferentiated all knowledge and all power and there was no differentiation, you would just be in that all the time. And the thing is, I think we are in that all the time, and that is eternal. And we are made of love too, I think is what the source is. It's made of love and it's eternal. So it's there all the time. It's never going anywhere ever. So to take an experience of like, hey, I'm going to then be a human, maybe even something bad, like you die of cancer as a baby, as a child. That's really bad. Or maybe you live a whole life as a human, 90-year life, and you have amazing times, maybe some challenging times, or maybe you live a life of more challenging or even extremely challenging. So to me, if you are that like eternal, all knowledgeable, all love, source, and you're that forever, then taking these adventures would just be purely interesting, and it would be purely like
It's
fully intentioned to
necessary.
have that. It's meant to be and to have the whole thing for a purpose. Yeah.
Who
I
would
feel
you
like it's
respect?
actually necessary, but I feel like it's actually necessary because remember how quick he got how quickly he got bored in Groundhog's Day.
Yeah.
Now imagine trying to bang out eternity. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't do it unless you do this thing you're talking about, where you go and play the game.
Who would you, if this God that we're describing came into this user experience, who would you respect more? The one God who was chilling and hanging out with all the elites on Jeffrey Epstein's island and such, or the one who suffered? Who would you respect more? Which God? The one that comes to Earth to party, or the God that
The
comes
one that
here
can
to
do,
go
the
through this?
one that can do both, Eden.
Well, are you saying
The
they're
one that
separate?
Why does it have to be binary?
Yeah, are they separate beings, or like? I mean, obviously, one of
Well,
those things is respectable. One of them is not. I mean, the Epstein thing, from at least what I understand, is claim that's like, extremely dark and
you need the
insane.
disrespect to teach you
Whatever
to
he was up
respect.
into. That's not like respectable, like in terms of a human integrity. But would the creator create Jeffrey Epstein? Well, yeah, it seems like he did.
Yes, but
So are
would
you
he?
saying,
Because let's say
Eden,
he
are
only
you
comes
saying that the
once.
opposite, Eden, are you saying the opposite of suffering is pleasure?
Well, good question.